Hey everyone, welcome back. Hope you guys are having a great weekend. Thank you so much for coming in to watch this video. We're going to talk about something that's pretty important. Obviously, where is the network hash rate going to be when the halving comes around? Right now, we peaked at 600 today just for a little bit, but nonetheless, that's a lot of hash rate that got added in, or exahash if you're looking at it that way. They got added in and made me start thinking, where will the miners need to have Bitcoin price be at the time of halving event if the network hash rate is actually like 600, 650 exahash come halving? So I double checked my work. I spent about 3-4 hours doing it. I thought I was wrong. I double checked, triple checked. My numbers are correct. We do have some explaining to do on some of the miners here. We'll get into that, but we'll see where everything leads us to. Okay. So, but as always, it's not financial advice for entertainment only. Please do your own research. Invest in the following coins and companies for full disclosure. And if you enjoy this type of content, hit the like button, subscribe. It helps me out tremendously. So if we look at the charts here on, let me see here. There we go. So if we look at the charts here on Bitcoin hash rate charts, this is from Coin Wars. We can see that we spiked all the way up to approximately 600. Well, we did hit, it says 600 here right now. 600 exahash on the Bitcoin network, right? We have been kind of bouncing around like the 525 to 550 mark, and now we're actually down way below that. So I think when this happened, some of the miners might have freaked out that we're less efficient. They probably freaked out and turned some of the miners off because of that, because they might not be profitable anymore. But like I said, this got me thinking, where will Bitcoin need to be in order for the Bitcoin miners to be profitable come halving event, or at least some of them to be profitable? So I ran the numbers here, and I've run the numbers that I've done before, and these are based on the Q2 results as far as what is their cost of electricity, what is their cost of operations, general administrative, things like that. So I used all cash expenses in there. Okay, one thing that I want to point out and preface here is I'm not sure about the TeraWulf data here, and the reason I'll explain here in a minute. TeraWulf, I have right now, basically $529, I think it's $529 per petahash that's costing to operate right now, where that is the lowest number that we can see here. Riot is at 967 per petahash, and I believe that's per kilowatt hour on my data here. And other than that, I mean, everybody else is above 1,000 here. So this is the one that's kind of been driving me crazy here as far as what's going on with this number here. Why is it so different from everybody else? Yes, we know TeraWulf has some pretty good costs when it comes to electricity, but I didn't think they were that good, where they're basically almost half of where Riot is, and definitely a lot lower than where others are as well. So when we look at the numbers here for energy expense here, I came up with 6.22 million for the quarter of Q2. And this is based on the numbers here that we have in the data here. So let me move this out of the way. And I think something might be a little amiss here. Right, if you look at Q1 numbers, they were at 5 million here in cost of revenue. They were only at 5.1 in Q2. But if we look at the network or the hash rate that they had for those two periods, the average hash rate here was 2.367 in Q1, while they had Q2 was 4.1. So this is hard for me to believe that their hash rate almost doubled here and their cost didn't double at all. I mean, the cost went only up $111,000. That is very hard to believe that that is actually happening here. Also, when we compare them to, or what the cost of Bitcoin is here, what I came up with was 9.2 thousand for them. This is obviously electricity, operations, overhead, general administrative as well. And I looked at like CleanSpark on them. CleanSpark is at like 12,000 something. So this is a difference of about, what, 25%, something like that. So they should be only off by 25% compared to CleanSpark here when we look at the numbers here for them. Their cost is 1,028.9. Okay, that's this one right here. Quarter of that would be roughly, what, about 850 or something like that, that TeraWulf should be at. So I'm going to use that number here, just so I'll explain it to you guys. Unless you guys disagree, this is the number that we're seeing here for TeraWulf, okay? But if you guys disagree, let me know down in the comments. But I think something is amiss. I just don't know what. Okay, because this is definitely a lot lower than everybody else. Okay, so we're going to use 850 here just to kind of make it a little bit more, I think, even of where it should be. And then the numbers that we use here are obviously, like I said, we use the quarterly results, the numbers for electricity, operations, general administrative as well. And then we took that into account and divided by the 3 months into each of these charts here. So monthly energy expense, monthly expense, that's basically overhead and general administrative costs, all cash expenses. I'm not including any power credits. I'm not including any depreciation or anything like that. Just basic things, okay? Next, I took the uptime percentage as far as how many days each month they were operating in Q2, and we got basically a percentage of where they should have been. So those are the numbers down here in this column. Next, we took the average hash rate. The average hash rate is actually, what we did here is we took the hash rate that they, the average hash rate that was reported as operating for those, that period, those months, which was April, May, and June. We got the average of that, and we multiplied it times the percentage that they were actually at uptime. So that's how we're getting the hash rate average here. So this is basically operational average hash rate. So those are the numbers down here in this column. Next, we have obviously the cost per kilowatt per petahash. Here, we have the Halving 2024 petahash, which is where they're supposed to be at. And then we're also multiplying it times the percentage that they were operational during Q2 numbers here, right? Things are going to fluctuate a little bit here, obviously, between summer, fall, winter, and spring. I think spring is a pretty good indicator as far as being a pretty good average for the whole year, because obviously in the summertime, you're going to curtail more if you're curtailing. Wintertime, you're going to curtail less unless, well, for the most part, we see a lot of miners curtail less unless they're located in Texas or something like that. They may curtail because of the cold coming in or something like that. But in all, I think this is pretty good. So we'll use that number there. And then we're getting the electrical cost here calculated based on the cost per petahash here, multiplying it times the actual operational hash rate average here that they're going to have once fully installed, come the halving of 2024, which is going to be somewhere around April. Okay, so that's the cost there. We're also using Bitcoin right now at 37,500, and you can see here that all of the miners here are basically not generating any positive revenue here. They're all in the hole. We're also using the network hash rate at 650 exahash on it. So that's 50 exahash more than where it peaked right now. We're still 5 months away. Could it go higher? It definitely can, but we just don't know that. I'm going to use 650 as kind of the ballpark, the low point where it might end up at. We'll do this, and we'll also probably shake it up to maybe 700. I think 700, 100 exahash increase in 5 months kind of might make sense. So we'll do that as well. Okay, and then we're using the revenue here. So revenue is basically just taking the petahash that they have. The Bitcoin rewards at that point will be at 450 per day for the miners times the price of Bitcoin, the network hash rate included in that as well. And then we're getting the revenue on that side. And then we're calculating the total expenses, what their costs are going to be. That includes their monthly expenses that are from Q2. Things might change. They might go down. They might go up. We don't know what's going to happen with that. We will get a better picture when the actual Q3 numbers come out, which we'll probably have all of them probably within the next month. We'll do an update on this video, or update on this chart as well, when that does happen. So that will give us maybe a little bit better picture, I think, right? It's still going to be a little bit laggy, but it's going to be a little bit closer to where they are operating right now. All right. So that's that. That's how you see things stack up here. And then I calculated basically where each miner has to be here in order for them to be profitable. So that's this column over here. And like I said, the things were a little shocking to me when I looked at it. I thought it was just way out of my head here. I ran similar numbers here a couple months back, but I had only the hash rate at that point going up to about 350, 400 exahash, which was definitely on the low side. I didn't think we're going to get this many exahashes installed in such a short period of time. But given that Bitcoin miners have been increasing in speed, costs are coming down, it is no surprise that we're seeing a larger increase in hash rate than we have historically because of that. So I need to take that into account going forward, right? That the miners are getting more efficient. You're now at 200 exahash for some miners, even closer to 300 exahash on some other miners. But obviously the efficiency is getting much higher, and the prices are obviously still pretty low right now. So that's obviously driving a lot of that growth where I didn't think that was going to happen, okay? So that's kind of where we're stacking up right now. And here's the data that we do have on it here. So we see here that we'll just go through this one by one here, how things stack up. So our goal, we need to be at 87,000. We need Bitcoin to be at 87,000 in order to turn a profit at that point. Bit Digital, we need to be 112,000, which is obviously pretty high here. They host most of their machines as well, so that could be the reason for that. Their overhead is also pretty high. That's being accounted for there as well. BitDeer is at 85,000. Bitfarms is at 84,000. Cypher is 107. Cypher obviously has a lot of expenses. Well, their overhead is a little bit high there. CleanSpark, we need to be at 63,000. Core at 106,000. Core, obviously, same thing. A lot of overhead that they are paying for. They need to cut down. They need to trim the fat. Get rid of people that they don't need, that are duplicates or anything else like that. And that pretty much goes for everybody here. They need to trim the fat as much as they can before the halving event. DigiHost is at 87,000, DMG's at 76,000, Hive at 97,000, Hut 8 at 94,000, Iris Energy at 119,000, Marathon at 84,000, Mawson at 138,000, Riot at 59,000. Riot might be actually lower than that because they do have, obviously, the power credits that they do get for curtailing. So that might make their profit margins better, but we're not using that in here, so take that into consideration as well. Sphere, 128,000. Stronghold at 101,000, and then TerraWolf at 54,000. And I don't think I included, yeah, I did include Stronghold. Stronghold at 101,000. Their big thing is also the overhead that they would need to get to in order for that to work out. Okay, TerraWolf at 54,000. Like I said, that's based on a quarter of where CleanSpark is, because the number just seemed way, way too low for me. But it might be right. Okay, so if we actually plug in that number here, you can see here that if we leave it at what it was, it would be at 39,000, which would be very, very low. And like I said, almost pretty much half of where CleanSpark is, Riot, almost somewhere around there. So that's why I said we'll leave it the way it is. I think this is a little bit more closer to home. All right, so that's how things stack up now. Now, Bitcoin obviously goes up to 50,000 here. We'll do that really quick. You can see that at that point, everybody still is negative here. We go to 52,000, everybody's in the red. 55, we start seeing TerraWolf coming into play here. They're starting to be a little bit more profitable there. At 57.5, nothing. Now at 60,000, we got Riot becoming profitable, which they might be profitable prior to that because, like I said, the curtailing credits that they receive makes them their profit margins more better. All right. Then we get to 62,000, nothing. 65,000, we start seeing who's that? CleanSpark popping up here. They're generating now 733,000 a month in possible revenue or profit. Then we go to 67, 70,000, still the same three. 72,000, 75,000, still the same three. 77,000. Now we're getting DMG show up here at 80,000. We got still the same four. 82, same. Now at 85, we started seeing more. We got BitDeer in here. We got CleanSpark, obviously, DigiHost. Marathon starting to become profitable as well. Mawson or Riot is that as well. No, wait a minute. Who's that? That's Iris. No, Marathon, Mawson, Riot. Yep. Okay. Maybe I can squeeze it in here, make it a little bit easier to see. Let's see here. Who else? Okay, so that's it for that one. Going up higher here. Let's go to 890,000. Now you got more of those. You guys can take a look at which ones those are. I'm not going to go through them all. 92. Right. We're getting more. We're getting a little bit more here. 95. 100,000, we're getting a little bit more. 102, now let's keep going to 107, 110, 112,000, 115, 117, 120, 122, 125, 127, 130, and then Mawson obviously needing to be at much higher than that. That's at least the way I'm calculating it right now. Unless they actually grow, because right now I have them not growing that much. But that's kind of the way things stack up. And then you can see here, if we're at 140,000, let's go to 150,000. This is where the miners could possibly be making the money here. And the ones making the most here per month would be CleanSpark, Marathon, right? The 27 million, Riot at 29 million as well. So those three might be the most. Riot might actually be the one that's the most profitable here, right? Because of the power credits, I keep saying. They might be actually ahead of CleanSpark here a little bit, but just all depends on where things go. With CleanSpark getting to 20 exahash, Riot also getting 20, possibly going even further. If they choose to get to 30 exahash, they do have the option to do that. They could be growing even more. TerraWolf is definitely pretty good here as well at 14.2. Let's see here. Iris Energy, they're seeing that they're going to be growing here, so there's a caveat to all of these. They're supposed to be growing more. Let me see. There's also a thing for Hut 8, right? Hut 8 has been pretty, well, I would say, I guess you could say pretty inconsistent as far as their performance been month to month. They've been having issues with the miners, facilities being shut down. So hopefully when they merge with USBTC, those things could improve on them. Because right now I'm at 66% uptime. Let's say they get that up to 80%, 0.8. You can see with having events, they're going to be closer to probably about 6 exahash operational if that happens. With the 7.5 exahash that they're supposed to get to, that would definitely get them up there with better revenue, right? So it all depends on where they're going to be growing, how efficient they are. All of those things obviously play an important role in where the miners actually will go. So things to consider: if we don't have Bitcoin at least probably close to 50,000 or something like that, and a lot of these miners don't cut the fat, they will be in trouble for a little while here, at least until Bitcoin goes someplace. Now, if the Bitcoin network hash rate goes even higher than that, well, we might be in worse trouble than we're thinking we might be in. But we'll have to see, obviously, where things play out. So at 50,000 here, we can see, obviously, that everybody is still negative. If Bitcoin network hash rate goes up to, say, 700 exahash by that time, we're going to need Bitcoin to be at much higher prices for everybody here. Let's see here. Argo would need to be at 93,000, BitDigital 120,000, BitDeer 91, Bitfarms 91, Cypher 115, CleanSpark 68,000, Core 114, DigiHost 94, DMG 82, Hive 105, Hut 8 101, Iris 128, Marathon 91, Mawson 149, Riot 64, Sphere 138, Stronghold 108, and Terrell 59. Now, the other caveat to this is usually when the halving event happens, we get a lot of miners that actually will shut down. The ones that have the least efficient miners in their fleets, so anything that's going to be below 100 exahash, probably, if not higher, is not going to be, I would say 100 exahash, I think, not 100 exahash, 100 terahash, sorry. 100 terahash miners should be okay. Anything below that, they're going to be probably cutting down on operations unless they have pretty much free or cheap electricity, like one penny or something like that. But that's going to obviously cause the dip in the network hash rate as well. That will help the miners as well. I can't account for that. I don't know how much it's going to go down. We could see a dip of 10, 15, 20% in the network hash rate if that does happen, which I think it's going to happen. It has happened in all the cycles before. Okay, so take that with everything to consider here. So with all of this, Bitcoin, I think, is going to have to be at least 50 to 55, maybe if not 60,000 when the halving event happens, for being at least close to being profitable for the miners, if not a little bit higher, depending on where the network hash rate is. Okay. Let me know if you guys have any questions down below. As always, the spreadsheet can be available to my Patreon members. It's still only $5 a month there for everyone to join if they want to join. Still beats paying for a hot cup of coffee when you get all this data a couple times a week. So, and I provide it to you guys at no additional cost, just for $5 a month. Okay, so that's it. We'll see what happens tomorrow. We should get some more production updates from the miners. We should also start getting the quarterly results for Q3 from the miners this week. So we'll get into all that. Once we have all the data, we'll plug it into the spreadsheet here, and we'll see what happens in about a month or so where the network hash rate is at, where the miners were at for Q3. We'll get a little bit better picture on it. Hopefully it's better looking at what it is right now, okay? So that's it. Thank you so much for watching. I hope you guys enjoyed it. Until the next one,